kilpailun suojelijat avaavat tätä tapahtumalta ruokaministeri Mika Poutala. Have an honor to welcome Minister of Young Sports, Physical Activity, Mika Poutala, to start this event.
Dear friends of Biathlon athletes and coaches, hyvät urheilun ystävät. Suomen joukkue olympiamitalisti Suvi Viikkisen johdolla. Luvataan varmasti tiukkoja sekuntitaisteluita ja huikeaa urheiludraamaa. It is not coincidence that the world's top biathletes gather regularly in Kontiolahti. Conditions here are among the best in the world. And the Biathlon Stadium has become a highly respected landmark within the international biathlon community. Onnistunut tapahtuma on kuitenkin paljon muutakin kuin hyvät olosuhteet. Kisajärjestäjän vahva ammattitaito sekä lukemattomien vapaaehtoisten omistautunut panos ovat korvaamattomia. Teidän ansiostanne Kontiolahden maailmansa tapahtumat saavat vuosi toisensa jälkeen kiitosta niin joukkueelta, medialta kuin kansainväliseltä lajisväeltä. Dear friends, the Kontiolahti World Cup is a shared effort for the entire region. It is inspiring to see
I'm telling you, you're free to take it up. It's not coming off. No niin, kiitos. No?
I still can see.
Glasses.
I still can see. Then tomorrow let's check.
Merci.
Katsotaan matkaa. Tänne kannattaa tulla. Kupa on tosiaan täällä. Ja nyt sitten luotaan vähän ilmeisesti täällä. Tausta. Laitetaan tätä vähän mukaan oikein. Ja saadaan tunnelmaa tänne mökkiin. Tästä lähtee.
Well, after a record-breaking Olympic Games, the run-in begins on the IBU World Cup. Trimester 3 kicks off here in Kontiolahti with the final women's 15-kilometre individual of the season. Here's a look at the course for today. 5 laps of 3 kilometres, a 1-minute penalty for every missed shot as the athletes alternate between prone and standing visits to the range. An incredibly physically demanding course with so many notes though of nostalgia around the stadium. It is such a beautiful venue. Well, we can take a look at the weather as well. Very, very still in the range, but very cold. -5 degrees with a snow temperature of -3 as well. And today, the first discipline globe of 25-26 season will be decided. Lou Jean-Minot leads by 40 points over Justine Bressard-Boucher. Recently retired Dorothea Vera is sandwiched in between them, but of course celebrated the end of her incredible career in Antholz last month. Scott Dixon, former British biathlete and coach. Lou Jean-Minot on course to retaining her individual title in what could be the first of a few trophies on this season's World Cup. All smiles around the French team. Of course, the returning Sophie Chauveau in there as well. Can anyone challenge Lou Jean-Minot today?
Absolutely. I think Justine Bressard-Boucher absolutely in with a chance. It does have to go very much in her favour in terms of Lou Jean-Minot falling outside the top 5, and that is certainly a possible scenario. But Anna Magnusson, just 1 point behind Justine Bressard-Boucher, is also in with a shot and therefore could pose to be at the very top, winning that Crystal Globe today. And I think that Anna Magnusson is out with something to prove. So it just remains to see if her form carries from the Stockholm competition just a few days ago.
Well, taking a look down the start list, we've been working out the permutations, Scott, so correct me if I'm wrong, but if Justine Bressard-Boucher or indeed Anna Magnusson wins and Lou Jean-Minot finishes below 6th, then it will be either Justine Bressard-Boucher or Anna Magnusson who wins. We'll keep you up to date, of course, with that throughout the race and hoping to have the line standings up as well. But Lou Jean-Minot in the driving seat today. Scott, of course, this was an event that really delivered as we kick-started the Olympic Games, what feels like not so long ago, but of course last month. What surprises do you think we'll have in store today? This is a discipline that so regularly delivers on the surprises front.
Okay, so if you just go all-out surprises, I would say an outsider name to look out for is an early starter. I think that Bendika has a chance of doing something special. Now, shooting is not her best friend. The Latvian, the 34-year-old, is a remarkably fast skier. Her best position has been 5th on the World Cup. It wasn't an individual, but she had the 2nd fastest ski speed at the Winter Olympic Games in the individual. So she is my outsider name, but of course, the big if those targets can go down.
Well, they're a very passionate crowd here as we see plenty of flags, but of course the majority finish in the crowd. Scott, this is a venue that you remember very well, but for a variety of reasons, it is so challenging out there on the body.
Oh, the hills are brutal. The wall is just the worst, if I can just be plain spoken, because it was at this venue where I decided that is it. I am done with international competition because that hill, I looked up at it and I thought, do you know what? This will be my last race.
And it is, of course, a venue that delivers on so many occasions. We kick-started the season here last season, a bumper weekend that was full of action, and it will be, I'm sure, a very happy place for a certain number of athletes to return to. Of course, we'll keep you up to date with who is in the driving seat as we go along. 96 athletes on the start list today, slightly less than, of course, we saw in the build-up to the Winter Olympic Games. A couple of retirements, of course. We mentioned Dorothea Vera, Franziska Preuss as well, and then a few already have announced their retirements at the end of the season, which, Scott, is always something that you expect after a Winter Olympics.
It is, and it's always sad to see these big names go. They've really made biathlon and brought so many thousands and thousands of fans who are going to be sad to see them go, but also glad to see the next generation come through. We've seen at the Junior World Championships so many remarkable young biathletes who are already contending at the top level.
Of course, one of those being Camille Benet, who was on the podium when this race was run in Östersund. This just the 3rd time that we've had an individual race on the World Cup this season. We had the short individual in Nove Mesto, won by Justine Bressard-Boucher, Lou Jean-Minot finishing 2nd that day, and Franziska Preuss 3rd. Well, it is such a sight as well. The grandstand here, Scott, so many little notes of nostalgia, a very modern stadium, but one that has really kept its history.
Yeah, and it's one that is just going to keep bringing the fans back. It's cold up here, but Tomaszeva, the first to contend with that chilly weather.
She is indeed wearing bib number 1 as the final trimester kickstarts on the World Cup, and the individual crystal globe for the women will be decided here today, and it is the 31-year-old who set a new personal best just before we took a break for the Olympic Games in the short individual in Nove Mesto. 29th she finished on that day. Tamara Steiner making her way through to collect her skis, wearing bib number 2, Anna Kern Heidenberg. Back and forth between the IBU Cup and the World Cup this season, Scott.
Yeah, and that's due to her shooting, not her skiing. She can sometimes be in the top 5 fastest on the track, and therefore you can expect to see her going well today, but she does struggle both in prone and stand at 74 and 73% hit rate respectively.
Elena Holodna and Emma Kapustova. And what the French media have branded a triumphant return to the World Cup for Sophie Chauveau, her first World Cup race since Oslo at the end of last season. She's currently placed 2nd on the IBU Cup. Scott, great to see her back on the top flight of racing in biathlon.
That's right. Well, she was at the individual in the European Championships where she had a little bit of a muddle on the final visit to the range. That was after coming in with the chance of being at the very top of the field, but she went on thereafter to have a fantastic European Championships. She was coming into this with great form.
Well, we've spoken a bit about people who are coming into these final trimester races with a point to prove, and maybe no more so than Lena Häcki-Gross. It was around this time last year, of course, Scott, where she had an excellent but very disappointing World Championships on home snow, and we just haven't seen her hit the heights of what she did at the end of the season 2 seasons ago. Tamara Steiner next. Made her first World Cup starts of the season in Nove Mesto before the Olympic Games, and of course made her Olympic debut in Antholz, competing in the individual and also the relay team for Austria.
100% hit rate in prone. The question is, can she hold that up to date? Of course, that statistic measured only by the World Cup races.
Holodna of Ukraine, next to leave the gates, also made her Olympic debut last month in the mixed relay and the sprint for Ukraine. Has a personal best of 13th, and that was from last season in the short individual.
Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but Baiba Bendika is one of the outsiders in the sense that she does struggle in stand shooting. 67% is her current hit rate, but we can expect to see her as one of the fastest today, Ellen. So I do think that it's very much worth looking at Bendika and seeing if she can match on the skis Chauveau's very quick time to the 1.3 kilometer mark.
Yeah, she is the fastest at the moment by 6 seconds, Sophie Chauveau, and someone will be looking to challenge from the early bibs. As well, Clarkova of Czechia, 11th in the individual at the Olympic Games. That's her new career best performance.
And what a place to have it. At the Olympic Winter Games, when it's arguably the hardest time to hit the targets. The athletes saying that looking down the sights at the Winter Olympics is completely different to the many tens of thousands of times you've looked down the sights in training before.
Kapustova of Slovakia. She's 23 years old. This is her 40th World Cup start today. Another who made her Olympic debut last month. I feel like we'll be saying that about lots and lots today, Scott. And what it means for those athletes who have now done their first Olympic Games, shaken that off, to be stepping out today. It must be a big relief coming into this final trimester.
Well, I think it's a relief for some. It's going to be tough for others who, like you said already, are going to be feeling somewhat disappointed by how the Olympic Games went. But for the most part, it's just an amazing achievement just to qualify for these teams that are becoming ever more dense with top-level biathletes.
Halvorsen going through her final preparations. Of course, the world silver medalist in this discipline. Judith Tlabaita of Lithuania. Going in hunt of her first World Cup points. Of course, with that, first top 40 finish in the World Cup. If you are joining us for the first time after watching a record-breaking and headline-making Olympic Games in the biathlon, it is the top 40 in the races who secure World Cup points, which of course is increasingly important at this time of the year. Michaela Carala, 101st start for the Italian. Focus on the Swede, she is one of the early bibs who could challenge. And Venla Lehtinen, huge smile on her face, and you can understand why, Scott. The vibes around the Finnish camp at the moment, and you can say, arguably from the last time we were here in Kontiolahti, has just been so high. It feels like there's a real revived love for the sport, led, of course, by Suvi Minkkinen performing so well on the World Cup in the last 2 seasons.
Heidenberg now coming up the top of the steepest climb, sometimes known as the wall. And this is the very part in the course that causes the athletes the most pain, because as they get over the top, they have to fight along the flat in towards the shooting range, which does continue at parts to climb. So incredibly challenging entry into the shooting range.
Saw a brief glimpse of Ingrid Landmark Tandervold. Almost a year since her last podium. There's a sprint win in Nove Mesto in the final trimester of last season. She'll be hoping to replicate that. Going out before her, though, Susan Kuhl of Estonia. It's come close to her personal best mark of 12th that she set in the individual in Ruhpolding last season. Someone else worth keeping an eye on as well, as always, Vanessa Voigt, 4th in the individual at the Olympic Games, replicating what she did in 2022, just narrowly missing out on a medal. Her teammate goes before her, though, wearing bib number 16, Julia Tannheimer. Still only 20 years old, Scott. She's such a talent for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And the Germans do have some major talents here today who are typically very good in the shooting range, and that's where they really prosper in these individual competitions. Of course, 1 minute for every single penalty means that the hitting is so important, and Heidenberg is going to be coming in to do just that.
Bib number 2, but the first into the range. Anna Caroline Heidenberg of Sweden, as Scott said, 1 minute penalty added for every missed shot. 4 visits to the range, alternating between prone and standing.
13.2 seconds to get the first round down, but then 3.2 to the second, which is a top-end controlled shoot. And there's 5 out of 5. A great start for Anna-Karin Heidenberg of Sweden.
And coming in just behind her, you can see dropping down into the prone position, Sophie Chauveau, 2.4 seconds. She has as an advantage over Heidenberg coming into this position.
It's controlled, very conservative timing between shots, but it's worth every single second of pause there. She gets her breath.
She won't, however, take the lead, Heidenberg, despite coming in behind Sophie Chauveau on the timing tracks. Will leave ahead of her, 7.9 seconds, like you say, Scott. Conservative shooting, but of course avoiding the 1 minute penalty.
Yeah, absolutely. Chauveau, in terms of course time, 2.4 ahead, but down 7.1 seconds.
Down 18.5 already, Scott. Lena Haki-Gross, she's quick on the trigger though.
Oh, rapid shooting there. or at least relatively rapid. 25.3 seconds is very quick at the Olympic Games in prone. The fastest shooter on shoot time 3 was 23.3 seconds by Vitozzi.
And of course, Lisa Vitozzi making history as the first Italian ever to win a gold medal in solo competition at the Olympic Games. Our first miss of the day goes the way of Tamara Steiner. 1 minute automatically added to her competition race time. Recovers well though. Here is Vanessa Voigt. Well, 2 fourth-place finishes in this discipline in consecutive Winter Olympic Games. Scott, it doesn't come much crueler than that.
It's unbelievably cruel, and it's such a shame because fourth, obviously, as painful as it is at the Olympics, especially given the fact she wasn't foreshadowing it with races prior. So Voigt manages to find some kind of form coming into these events, and it's just a shame she can't clench it at the final moment of asking.
Here is Biba Bendika, one worth keeping an eye on today, but she starts with a miss.
Bendika struggles with the prone, 72% hit rate, and there's 2 already, so her prospects of a win, both in terms of skiing and shooting, out the window. An outsider call for sure, but nevertheless, she is quick and she has a lot of experience.
Finn Clarkova. In the red, trailing by 16.6 seconds. Well, 5 out of 5 and a good start. She'll be carrying so much confidence from the Winter Olympic Games.
Lovely control in 28.1 seconds. She was a little bit quicker to the first shot, but then after that had lovely consistency, and consistency between shots is vital. These biathletes have such a regulated routine. Coming into the range, they want to be able to approach with the same amount of breaths between each shot as often as they can. Just look how smooth the recocking mechanism there is for Kapustova of Slovakia. Her nation doing unbelievably well at the Junior Youth World Championships. And a team to look out for in the future, particularly their youths with already 3 gold medals.
And of course, worth mentioning, we said about a smaller, very slightly smaller pack size today, start list size 96 on the start list, but of course those Junior and Youth World Championships taking place at the moment. Here's Michaela Carrara. Has the lead by 2.2 seconds.
.6, speeding up towards the center shot. 4 out of 5. Now she'll be disappointed with that, but it's the best time in the race to miss. You get that feedback, and the coaches, as you can see on the radio, passing on the information to the coaches out around the track, who can feed to the athletes where the shots fell, and from that, the athletes can decide if they want to adjust their sights the next time they come into the range.
Well, a home World Cup race for Venla Lehtinen, based around 15 kilometres away from this course. And just listen to the change of noise in the crowd, roaring every hit. Oh, she soaks up the pressure, 5 out of 5. A great start for Venla Lehtinen. A miss on the first for Grossian of Germany.
And what a different atmosphere it is for the Finn. Not used to having such noise behind her as she's firing each shot. And of course, something that the Germans actually prepare for in training. They sometimes have very loud speakers simulating the sound. But what you can't simulate is the actual physical vibration, the energy that comes from that many people cheering.
Susan Kuhl now. Good cadence.
That's lovely, lovely shooting. 25.9 seconds. Just in terms of timing, that would put her in the top 5 fastest shooters at the Olympic Games. Of course, different ranges require different strategies in terms of the breathing routine, but Susanne Kuhlm there with total control.
Here's Julia Tannheimer coming in, 1.6 seconds down after a quick start, but now misses once, so that time added already. Won't be able to afford too many more mistakes. Vela Urberg. Too long before we see her out on the course. Bib number 40 today.
And it still stands that Chavot is the fastest out on the course. She's clearly in very good form, with Carrara only 0.2 seconds down after the first lap.
Here is Ingrid Landmark-Taunevold coming in, 1.9 seconds in the lead.
Taunevold just coming off the back of the Stockholm Biathlon Challenge races, where it was nice to see her implementing such a free shooting rhythm alongside Uldal in the team event, and she is capable of such great accuracy, particularly in prone. Very slow to the first shot, demonstrating control as Heidenberg there at the top right of your screen and stand has a miss. Taunevold with an extra breath.
And then the miss. So close.
Painful.
She'd started so well, Scott, and then you could just see the processing, having to resettle, and the minute added has her down in 16th.
Now Heidenberg also with 2 mistakes, and therefore 2 minutes instantly added on to the time, and now opening the door for Chavot. Of course, only bib number 3, but nevertheless an opportunity to take the lead.
Has a miss herself though now.
12.9 seconds to the first shot is quick shooting, and it's quick in between. Very fast.
We'll need to limit it to just the one if she's to contend. And well, what a story this woman delivered at the Olympic Games just last month. Laura Hystrova returning from her 2nd Olympic Games as a bronze medalist in this discipline. Clean shooting in the first individual event, the first solo event at the Olympic Games. And what a game she had overall as well, with brilliant performances in the sprint and the pursuit. Here's Vanessa Voigt. Starts with a miss, trailing by 12.4 seconds as she came in as well. 2 misses now, adjusts her sights. It's just not going well.
No, that's painful. And we can see the wind is only at 1 kilometer last time the graphic showed, suggesting that there isn't much difference on the range from the point of zeroing. She gets the remaining 3, perhaps the correction indicating that her 0 was slightly out.
Emilia Lampic approaching her 100th World Cup start. Fastest by some margin on the World Cup, but only 64% shooting accuracy. And her problems mostly in the standing, where she's 55%. Just 1 miss in the prone. Here's the world silver medalist, Bella Halvorsen. No World Cup podiums this season. And, well, Scott, her first World Cup podium came here in the short individual at the start of last season.
And that familiarity really does help. When you've had a good race at a location, it can be your favorite thereafter, as Halvorsen goes 5 out of 5 in 28.2 seconds. It's the perfect start.
She'll find herself in third, just 7.9 seconds behind the time of Biathlon. She's announced her retirement at the end of the season, but is leading after shooting one.
Well, the pressure can sometimes fall off your shoulders when you announce that you're not going to have to suffer through the sport any longer, but it can have the opposite effect as well. Draw attention to every shot that you fire as you realize that you're closing in on the final race.
Clarkova into the stand as Carolina Knotten drops down into her first prone visit.
Excellent shooting there for Vinklarkova of Czechia. She goes 5 out of 5, that's 10 out of 10. And she's looking strong on the skis.
She will have a big lead here as well over Sophie Chavot. Of course, Chavot with that one miss, so it's a 48.4 second advantage for Vinklarkova of Czechia.
She managed to ski 0.9 seconds ahead of Heidenberg on the second lap and 3.8 over Bendika, 4.1 over Chavot, so that is a very quick time. Vinklarkova, I think, expecting now to be around about the top 5 fastest time, perhaps by the end of the race.
Luna Klemencic now coming in for her first prone shoot, 3.4 seconds down. There's not much in it at all. And perfect shooting, 5 for 5 on her 191st World Cup start for Klemencic as Suvi Minkkinen is away, bib 44. What a season, what a last 18 months she has had since she really announced her presence here on the World Cup around her 30th birthday at the start of last season, and it's only been up from there for Suvi Minkkinen. Of course, such a long journey for Minkkinen before she could get to that point and secure her first big performances. It's so fitting that she did so last season at home. What can she do this season? Now those medals have become more expected than surprises. Here's Martha Klokstad Johansson.
Johansson, I should say, 93% hit rate in prone, 86 in stand. More than likely, 18 hits today or above, at least statistically speaking. And there's 5 out of 5. It's a very good start for the Norwegian.
Part of the Olympic bronze medalist winning team in the relay. Started the season so well in this discipline, finishing 8th in Östersund, and finds herself after shooting one in 8th. Here's a look at shooting 2 out of the 4 for Venla Lehtinen.
And you can hear the crowd roaring with each fall of the target.
Oh, and it's perfect, 10 out of 10 so far for Venla Lehtinen. And that is what it means to the Finnish crowd. She's halfway through the race and finds herself in a brilliant position from bib 13.
5th place coming into the range.
And 2nd coming out.
Vinklarkova having a really good start to this event.
Susan Kulm coming into shooting 2, just 5.1 seconds down. Exited shooting 1 in the lead by 7.9 seconds, but has a miss now. We'll see her tumble down the order a second. Just 3 targets hit in that second visit. And the Hetage Volts, 3.7 seconds down. I've seen an upturn in her skiing form since returning from the birth of her first child. Superb shooting from Hetage Volts. He won't be too far away from the lead here of Batovska Fialkova, just outside it. 9/10 of a second. Hetage Volts goes into 2nd.
She glanced up at the screen. She was informed roughly in real time how she was doing. Getting a chance to see the big screen is a luxury only the very best and fastest are able to do.
And here's a look at the wall, and Elvira Urberg climbing up it. She was in the lead at 1.3 kilometres by 3.9 seconds, and that lead is growing at 2.4. Bib number 18 now. Teresa Bornikova, the Olympic bronze medalist in a thrilling mass start, who is 10 out of 10 and in the lead. And what a day this is so far for Czechia. And here is the split yellow and red bib of Lou Jean-Monod. Keep your eyes on the time here for Bornikova. What great form she's in, and Scott, she leads by 10.1 seconds.
Wow, and in ahead of her teammate Czechia, having a fantastic start to this race. But now Batovska Fialkova, she's gone clear in prone and she goes clear in stand. That is absolutely fantastic shooting, and she's flying on the skis. The fastest skier so far overlaps 1 and 2. Batovska Fialkova.
By a huge margin as well. Look at that, 30.8 seconds. The lead of Paulina Batovska Fialkova. Here is Justine Brassard-Boucher, who's still very much in the battle for the individual discipline globe. She needs to banish the demons of the Winter Olympic Games. Comes out here with a point to prove, as does Sophie Chauveau. Comes into shooting 3, of course, only bib number 3 herself. 39.4 seconds in the lead, but just how costly will that miss in the standing position be?
Well, she's opted once again for a nice controlled shoot. 3.6 to 4 seconds between every shot. Well, time well spent. It's 5 out of 5, but with that one mistake and with so many skiing faster and shooting more accurately, Sophie Chauveau needs the next 5. 27 seconds ahead of Heidenberg.
As our focus is now with Elvira Urberg. Perfect so far, and with a 4.3 second lead coming into shooting 1. Batovska Fialkova's the time to beat, and surely she will get there.
Elvira Urberg, 5 out of 5. 32 seconds to do it. She's gone controlled and she's gone in the lead. This is a great start from the Swede.
Just 0.7 of a second in it. Her best result in Antholz a fortnight ago was 6th. Comes into today's races and indeed the final trimesters, wanting to prove a point. And here is a look at the intermediate standings after shooting 1. Still yet to see Lou Jean-Monod enter the range.
Well, although Elvira Urberg skied the fastest by 4.3 seconds, she shot the 32nd fastest. So many squeezing in ahead.
So Mist has kicked things off, and that's 2 now in the stand for Ella Halvorsen, the world silver medalist, who will see herself disappear out of the picture. A miss for Malin Tjierkaide. What an Olympic Games she had. The blue bib wearer, 2 misses, now trailing by 10.9 seconds. 3 misses. Well, Scott, this is a disastrous first shoot.
She needs to reset, and she needs to pause after the second miss just to establish whether there's something she can do differently to get back on track. But to only get 2 hits in the first visit in prone, that's a catastrophic start to her race.
Here now though, Suvi Minkkinen, bib 44. Focus of all the Finns in the crowd. And home snow, what can she do? 7.3 seconds she trails. One miss for Suvi Minkkinen. I'll focus then with Vinklarkova. Perfect so far. 15 out of 15. Look at that. What a day for the Czech athlete. 43 seconds she led coming in. She's wearing bib number 8 and she's 15 out of 15 so far. She will have a commanding lead over Sophie Chavot.
Well, apparently 11th at the Winter Olympics wasn't good enough, and she's now in contention, at least for a top 5. She needs to get the last 5 though. Easier said than done.
That 11th was of course a huge personal best, carrying so much confidence. Here's Polona Klemencic now of Slovenia. She was perfect through the first. What can she do on the second visit? 10 out of 10 for her. Did trail by 19.7 seconds coming in now. Anna Magnusson comes in for her first visit to the range.
Magnusson, of course, has a possibility to end this race with the globe, but she does need to win, or at least relies on others to perform outside the top 6. It's a great start for Anna Magnusson. Lou Jean-Monod, of course, at the top of the overall standings.
5th for now for Anna Magnusson. Perfect shooting, trailing time of the leader. Here's Emma Kapustova. Perfect so far, but 57.8 seconds she trails coming in.
Such a relaxed rhythm.
But it's 15 out of 15, Scott. It does the trick.
Wow, absolutely fantastic and smooth. The way that she's able to just recock the rifle, load the next round into the chamber, and fire so gracefully. It's a slow routine, but it's completely effective. She finds herself in 3rd.
Well, history maker for Italy, Lisa Vitozzi. After such a troubling year last year, unable to compete on the World Cup, she became Italy's first ever gold medalist in a solo competition at the Winter Olympic Games. She won't have the lead here, but she has a perfect 5 for 5 to start. 10th for now for Lisa Vitozzi, 11.2 seconds behind the time of Alvila Urberg coming out of shooting 1.
Vitozzi, the fastest shooter in the individual at the Olympic Games, getting all 4 shoots done in 1 minute, 31.9 seconds.
Second for Chichita Tralbaita of Lithuania. Here's Venla Lehtinen.
Oh, the first miss for Lehtinen, and the sound of the crowd, the sigh, almost louder than the cheers.
And it must be so hard, Scott, when you hear that groan to then recompose yourself. Here's Camille Benet. 5 out of 5, not a bad start for Benet.
No, and she's definitely capable of something special. 6th at the Olympics, but she struggles with the ski speed relative to the others.
Does find herself in 18th, 16.6 seconds behind the time of Alvila Urberg, who's made an incredibly quick start to this race. Here is Lou Jean-Monod. Leads the overall standings by a considerable margin. Doesn't have the same benefit in the individual globe, but does have one hand on retaining her title. Has a miss though, and an early miss. Just how costly will that be? 4 out of 5 to start. Was trailing by 0.6 of a second when she came in.
Well, that adds the pressure just a little bit for Lou Jean-Monod. Of course, she's the kind of biathlete who can easily recover from an early miss and come back and still win in an individual. But Justine Breza-Boucher right behind her, and one of the fastest on the tracks.
Yep, and it does put the pressure on. 7.1 seconds, the lead coming into shooting 1 of Justine Breza-Boucher. Has to be perfect though. She wants to come out ahead of Alvila Urberg. Excellent visits once again for Bornikova. On the top of your screen, 5 out of 5 for Justine Breza-Boucher, and that will be the lead after shooting 1. She's not letting this battle for the individual globe go easily.
11 through shoot number 2 with a perfect 10 out of 10. There's a lot of remarkable shooting as Breza-Boucher takes the lead.
7.6 seconds the advantage over Elvira Öberg. That is just at shooting one though, 3 more stages to come. Here's Anna-Caroline Heidenberg. 2 misses in the first stand. She makes up for that in her second and final, of course, visit to the range, her second standing shoot. And she will be the first through this point.
She's going well on the skis as well, Ellen, managing to be 15 seconds behind Breza-Boucher in lap 1.
Here's Hannah Öberg now. Coming into shooting one. Just inside, 6 seconds down on the pace of Justine Breza-Boucher in a time that was quicker than her sister round that first lap. And it will be a new leader. Hannah Öberg, 3.4 seconds. The advantage over Justine Breza-Boucher. Back to the head of the course. And Sophie Chauveau. Final shooting stage as Elvira Öberg comes in. Just 1 miss so far for Sophie Chauveau. Can she limit it to that? It's now 18 out of 20 that will be her maximum.
Oh, 2 mistakes for Chauveau, just as Elvira gets 10 for 10.
Came in trailing by 1.8 seconds. Has to travel a little bit further, and it won't be the lead for Elvira Öberg. She'll fall behind the time of Bartowska-Fialkova. And into second, 4.1. She trails Bartowska-Fialkova, whose time through shooting 2 still stands as the fastest.
The third fastest skier after so many of the favorites have come through lap 1. Hannah Öberg just in ahead of her by 1.3 seconds.
Here's Lena Haki-Gross, 2 misses in her first standing visit. This will be her second.
You can see just how heavily these athletes are breathing. Every single gasp of air in this minus 4.5 degrees air temperature.
So
17 out of 20.
As we take a look at Julia Simon, she's so quick. It looks effortless, and it's 5 for 5, trailed by 5.5 seconds coming in. But trademark quick shooting from Julia Simon. It won't be the lead. She won't be too far off. Third for Julia Simon, 8.7 seconds. Well, it's interesting.
Yeah, probably predictable to say that, of course, as the Olympic champion, one of the favorites again today, but also now having reached the height of a gold medal at the Olympics, retaining the work ethic that it takes to get another victory. It's no easy task for Simon.
Of course, both world and Olympic champion in this discipline. Julia Simon, here's Suvi Minkkinen, 2 misses now, limits it to just the 1. And Clarkova now, a first miss of the day. Still has a commanding lead coming in over Heidenberg. 2 misses though.
Painful. Oh, 2 minutes just added on in the space of 6 seconds. That is not a good feeling.
Well, it's so brutal, this discipline. Not just the distance and, of course, the physical demands and challenges of this course, but the way that a result like that can be snatched away from you. Here's Anna Magnusson and Klemencic of Slovenia. 2 misses now for Klemencic. It's a good start for Magnusson at shooting 2. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 for Magnusson, who could still disrupt the globe today. The discipline globe on offer, the first of the season. Will fall outside the top 3 coming out of shooting 2. But a perfect record so far. 4th for Anna Magnusson, 17.7 seconds down on the time of Bartowska-Fialkova, which still hasn't been beaten at shooting 2.
Well, Magnusson She was 11.6 seconds down just in terms of ski speed on the first lap. And on the second lap, 11.8 seconds down, but that's without having Breza Boucher come through yet. So I suspect it will be somewhere around 20 down. She's off the pace and off the form on the skis.
In comes Emma Kapustova. 15 out of 15. Can she make it a perfect day in the range? Totsi in as well. 3 out of 3 so far for Vitozzi. There's her first miss.
Come on, one more.
And there it is, 20
wow.
out of 20 for Emma Kapustova, wearing bib number 9 and rewarded on her 40th World Cup start with a perfect 20 in the range.
Quick shooting too.
Finds herself still behind Heidenberg, 5.4 seconds, but a perfect record. And for Scots, those are so valued by the athletes. It's not always about the podiums, the flower ceremonies, those individual markers as well, like a perfect 20 in the range. And we could be on for another here, and maybe a new leader as well. Judita Trabaita of Lithuania. Just one more to get down, and she does.
Yes.
20 out of 20, and she will be the new leader by some margin.
Wow, I mean, this shooting would have you believe that this is an easy shooting range, but it is quite the opposite. You go up that wall, you then are just climbing still. It's gradual climbing, but there we can see Trabaita managed it absolutely perfectly. Now in the lead.
9.5 seconds. A new leader at shooting 4. We go back now to shooting 3. Janina Hetic-Volts, who comes in 27.9 seconds in the lead. She's perfect so far. Can she keep it up? Lou Jean Monod has come in for her second shoot, and it's 15 out of 15 for Janina Hetic-Volts. Excellent shooting, and she's quick on the skis as well. We will have a new leader at shooting 3, and it will be the German.
Another miss there for Jean Monod. And that is going to be costly. 2 minutes already added onto her time as Hetic-Volts finds herself with a lead of 31 seconds.
And is this now the discipline globe just slipping out of the hands of Lou Jean Monod?
Well, Breza Boucher is just coming into shoot number 2 with a 5.1 seconds lead over Potocka Fialkova. And she is one who can get that overall Crystal Globe title if she wins today.
Into the finish line comes Anna-Caroline Heidenberg as Breza Boucher is in the small picture, and that is where we will take our focus. A first miss for Breza Boucher. Can she limit it to just 1? She does indeed. A slight look of relief on the face of Breza Boucher as Heidenberg coming towards the line. And she is the first across it in a time of 44:35.1. The time to beat set by bib number 2.
Breza Boucher, her time has just been beaten by Hannah Ober coming into shoot number 2. Both athletes having gone 5 out of 5 in the first prone, and Lou Jean Monod taking a tumble.
Here is Hannah Oberg now. As you said, Scott leading by 6.1 seconds. Great shooting, 10 out of 10. Well, what a day this is in the range.
It's looking controlled from Hannah Oberg. Perhaps the little bit of a rest since the Olympic Winter Games has done her well leading into Kontiolahti.
And only now is Potocka Fialkova's time beaten, but it is beaten by 10.3 seconds. Hannah Oberg, our new leader at shooting 2 of 4, and just coming in, her sister Elvira. 13.3 seconds, her advantage coming in over the time of Janina Hetic-Volts. She needs to stay perfect though if she wants to go out ahead of the German. Marlene Fichtner now in the small screen, coming in for her standing shoot and taking her time to get to the first. Fichtner
Fichtner reliably reliable behind the rifle.
15
Excellent
out
shooting.
of 15 for Elvira Erberg. And Fichtner following suit with 5 out of 5 in her standing visit. 8 seconds the lead at shooting 3 for Elvira Erberg over Janina Hetic-Volts. And it's Marlene Fichtner who comes through in 7th, 31.9 seconds down, but 10 out of 10. She trails the leader Hannah Erberg by just over 30 seconds at shooting 2. Here is Julia Simon, Olympic champion in this discipline, world champion in this discipline.
10 seconds slower on the skis on this lap alone behind Batovska Fialkova. So composed behind that rifle. Painful, painful miss. She comes across onto the target before squeezing the trigger. That light movement is what gives her the control. But that last shot not falling would have been a sting to Julia Simon.
Well, it's such high risk, high reward shooting, and you can see the risk and the damage done there, down to 16th after coming in a good position. Julia Simon tumbling down the order, and the pain on the face of Jean-Paul Giacchino as well. As the French shooting coaches start their final 3 weeks as coaches on the World Cup. Not just the athletes who, a few of the athletes who are bidding farewell to the sport at the end of the season. Here's Vinklarkova. Just 2 misses on the last, 18 out of 20, but a perfect day up until that point.
Minkinen now into the range, but she's had 2 misses already. You'll hear the crowd roaring for her. She has to quieten those sounds with each squeeze of the trigger.
And she does so, 5 out of 5 for Suvi Minkinen, who's in damage control mode here.
Well, one of the strategies is to embrace the sound and use it almost as a metronome. The other is to try and ignore it. 2 completely challenging factors as Minkinen goes into 17th. And that's because, of course, if you miss and you hear and are listening to the audience, then you really hear the sigh as the target doesn't go down.
Yeah, particularly here on home snow. You can imagine that hurting just a little more than usual. Here's Anna Magnusson coming into shooting 3. The times of Elvira Erberg and Janina Hetic-Volts will fly by.
Anna Magnusson very conservative in terms of her shooting time, and she starts with a miss in her second prone. A whole 30 seconds slower than Vitozzi in cumulative shoot time at the Olympic Games. And with 1 mistake, I think that's going to make it very challenging for Magnusson to get at the top of the podium today.
Emma Kapustova of Slovakia, a perfect 20 out of 20. As she comes towards the finish line. And pushes Selina Brottian, who finished just ahead of her, down. So Heidenberg still holding the lead despite those 2 misses. Kapustova didn't quite have it on the skis today to challenge Heidenberg, 17.3 seconds. She trails the leader. It's very much early stages in terms of athletes over the finish line. Just 11 finish the race. Here is Martha Klokstad Johansson, who has had a brilliant shooting day so far. Can she make it 20 out of 20?
Well, she continues with a fast strategy, missing the 4th shot.
So it will have to be 19 out of 20 today for Klokstad Johansson. as we go back to the finish line. And he did that well by 20 out of 20 it was for her, pushing down Kapustova. We've seen some brilliant individual performances in terms of the shooting today. 2 across the line out of the first 14 with a perfect 20 out of 20. Can Janina Hedvig-Volts join them? World Championship silver in this discipline in 2024, of course, before she went on maternity leave. She's been waiting for a big comeback moment. Just when will it come? Will it have to be on ice?
Oh, painful,
So
2 mistakes. And it's so hard for these biathletes when you've got 15 out of 15, the voices in your head saying, if I get 20 out of 20 today, what could be? And it's unbelievably challenging to quieten those voices.
Well, no question about the new leader, Paulina Bartowska-Fialkova. Just how long will her time stand? 19 out of 20 today. Bornikova across the line behind her, making that 3 into the clubhouse with clean shooting today. 20 out of 20 for Bornikova, the Olympic bronze medalist in the mass start. What a race that was. Here's Justine Brassard-Boucher. She has a miss, which finds her 1 minute and 1 second down on the time of Elvira Urberg. This is shooting 3 for the Frenchwoman.
Starting with a miss. Can't get any worse unless you follow it with another miss. Oh, and this is a disaster for Brassard-Boucher. She takes a glance over the rear sight blinder to see if the wind has changed. But now her prospects of getting the Crystal Globe look out of reach.
4 misses. Hugely disappointing for Justine Brassard-Boucher. Won the short individual in Nove Mesto. A really challenging Olympic Games. After that is Hannah Urberg now. This is shooting 3. She has bettered the time to her sister, coming in by 7.9 seconds. And this is quick shooting, excellent cadence. And it's 15 out of 15. Perfect so far for Hannah Urberg. Here is the Olympic bronze medalist in this discipline, a first miss of the day for Laura Hystrova. As Urberg leaves the range, bettering the time of her sister by 13.9 seconds.
All of that time won and lost on the skis. Hannah Urberg skiing slower than Elvira, but shooting faster, as you saw with that remarkable tempo. But Elvira Urberg now with an opportunity for 20 out of 20.
And she's made an excellent start. The lead is in her grasp. 19 out of 20. And that's 20 for Elvira Urberg, who is back at the top. It's excellent shooting and sublime skiing. And will it be enough for the win today? The only real challenge at the moment is her sister. And look at that for a lead. 37.8 seconds, the advantage for Elvira Urberg.
Unbelievable performance, both behind the rifle and on the skis. She's found her form, and she'll be asking herself, where was that during the Olympic Games in this very race?
13th in this discipline at the Olympic Games. She's put herself in the best position to win it today. And as things stand, we could be heading to yet another Urberg sister podium after the 10-kilometre pursuit in Oberhof earlier on this season. Julia Simon looking to recover her race, but does find herself 1 minute and 23 seconds behind, owing to that miss in her second visit to the range. she has the skills to recover it, Julia Simon. Just one miss, 14 out of 15. Work to do.
Well, Simon shot with this exact pattern at the Olympic Games, 0-1-0, and then went on to hit the last 5 targets. So she's doing the same there, but 1 minute 25 seconds back behind Elvira Öberg, who's gone 20 out of 20, and Hannah Öberg, who could do the same. It's a challenging time to beat at the top.
And a challenging start to this race for Suvi Minkkinen. Looking to make it back-to-back clean visits to the range, and it won't be possible. Starts with a miss. Well, not the return to Kontiolahti that she would have liked. Let's look at bib number 96 there, Shauna Pendry, the final athlete on the start sheet today. So everyone out on the course, or indeed finished. As we can see where Suvi Minkkinen will slot in 13th. 3 minutes and 19 seconds down on the pace owing to those 3 misses. Here is Elvira Öberg leading and looks set to be on her way, dependent on the results of her sister behind, of course, to a first individual victory on the World Cup. This the only discipline she hasn't stood atop the podium for. As a silver in Oslo from a couple of seasons ago. Here's Anna Magnusson coming into shooting 4. 1 miss in her last visit. She trails by 1 minute 41 seconds.
.181 beats per minute, and managing to shoot this fast and this accurate. Excellent. 19 out of 20 for Anna Magnusson.
You always love it when the athletes give you a glimpse of what's going on their watch and the heart rate. Just paints the picture a little bit better. Finds herself in 5th, Anna Magnusson. 1 minute 41 seconds down on the time of Elvira Öberg. That's shooting 4. We're still waiting for Hannah Öberg to arrive at that point. She is in between 10.3 kilometres and soon to be approaching the 11-kilometre mark. Here's Marta Kvakstad Johansson. Made an excellent start to the race, only dropping 1 on her final visit to the range. Does fall outside of the time of Bartowska Fialkova.
Third place, she'll be pleased with that for now. And now she'll watch the scoreboard as her name bumps down the order. But what a horrible finish it is in towards the line as they come up over the steepest part of the climb, and rather than taking a left onto the range, they will take a right under the bridge. And now, as you can see, with Hetty Schvaltz coming in on that home straight, Vitozzi, 9 out of 10.
An absolute show for Lisa Vitozzi in that standing visit. Trademark as she knocks them down with incredible speed. Janina Hettich-Volz, who for such a long time saw her name on the top of the standings, 2 misses, sees her drop down to 3rd as she comes across the finish line. And here is Lisa Vitozzi, 19 out of 20. And into 7th she goes, just adjusting her skis.
21.9 seconds to get all 5 targets down. We saw Emilia Jacquelin, that record 16.8 seconds at the Olympic Games. Of course, sprint competitions having different consequences if one misses.
So here are the intermediate standings after shooting 4. Elvira Öberg leads, but of course it's her older sister Hannah who has all the heritage in this event, twice world champion and Olympic champion, who is trailing behind on the course but ahead of her in terms of time. 1 miss in each of the visits, and that's now consistency for Lujon Monod. 4 misses so far, and Scott, that's far from what she'd have wanted today.
No, that's 16 out of 20. Really does make it hard for her to, well, of course, get into the top 6, as we were alluding to, but of course Anna Magnusson could, if she won the race, get to the top of the overall leaderboard for the individual. However, with all of the 3 favorites finishing outside, or at least at this point in time, outside of the top 6, it's going to require a little bit more maths, but Jean Monod, with the best chances of claiming the overall title, still, despite that 4 mistakes.
You can see a slight breeze rippling through the range as in comes Hannah Öberg. Takes a look at the red flag. She has a lead of 15.4 seconds. So well decorated in this discipline. Twice a world champion, an Olympic champion as well, and looking to deny her younger sister her first ever individual victory on the World Cup. Great start for Hannah Öberg as into the finishing straight comes Elvira. A first miss for Hannah Öberg. It's advantage Elvira Öberg. Gritted teeth all the way to the line. This could be her first individual victory on the World Cup. In such a close battle between her and her sister. 20 out of 20 today for Elvira Öberg, and it looks likely to be enough. Hannah Öberg drops down to 3rd as she'll hear her sister announced over the line in the lead. And there's nothing she can do now. The miss, ever so costly, but I'm sure there's no one she'd rather lose the victory to.
Well, she can still fight for 2nd place. She's only 3.4 seconds down behind Vabornikova of Czechia, who's gone 20 out of 20. And she has the advantage of getting that information around the tracks.
Well, a sublime day for Elvira Öberg, pushing all the way to the line. We'll talk about symmetry. Her sister coming into the range as she crossed the line. And there are the results at the finish line, intermediate results, as we have plenty through the finish line at the moment. It's 39 of our 96 who are beyond that point, and Elvira Öberg, 1 of 4 with perfect shooting today, and of course on top of the standings. Can Marlene Fichtner make it a perfect 20 out of 20? Trails by 57.9 seconds.
Really taking her time with every single shot.
But it pays off, 20 out of 20. Patience pays off for Marlene Fichtner. Really coming into her own this season, both on the IBU Cup and with the performances on the World Cup. And where will that place her? In the top 5. Nursing stand, flower ceremony for Marlene Fichtner. Perfect shooting, 20 out of 20. Suvi Minkkinen, not the return to Kontiolahti and home snow that she would have loved, but roared home nonetheless. Plenty of racing still to come this week. In Finland, it's 2 misses on the day for Julia Simon. 13th for now for Suvi Minkkinen.
And Hannah Öberg through the 13.3 kilometer mark, doing well. She's managed to get in ahead of Vabornikova of Czechia, now with a 4.2 second advantage.
Eyes now on Anna Magnusson. Started the season ever so well, wearing the yellow bib. She was the one to watch.
Well, if Magnusson finishes in 5th, she will gain 50 points. She currently stands on 89. That will put her at 149 points. Lou Jean Monod is way down the order in 34th indicating that she could find herself with as little as 6 points. And that does mean that Anna Magnusson could be fighting for the Crystal Globe.
19 out of 20. She won't find herself on the podium today, but could she be lifting the Crystal Globe? We'll keep our eyes on it. The maths has got a whole lot more complicated as this race has gone on.
Well, although I'm confident in my in what I'm seeing on my paper here, my scribbles do indicate that she's in with a very good chance of coming away with the Crystal Globe, but of course we'll have to verify that very closely.
I will trust your maths more than mine, Scott. And of course we are still waiting on the arrival of Lou Jean-Monod, who will know what is at stake as well. The shooting has been far from what she wanted today in terms of an individual performance. And of course she'll be ever so desperate to retain that individual Crystal Globe that she won last year and make it the first of, well, what she will hope will be a number of globes that she's picking up at the end of the season. She has an advantage in the overall standings, and of course with Suvi Minkkinen coming across the line in, well, now 14th, that will favour as well Lou Jean-Monod in the overall battle. But looks, as things stand, that the 10th of a second between Anna Magnusson and Leah Meyer, who's had a good day in the office and finished 5th, could be everything in the battle for the Crystal Globe. Here's Lisa Vitozzi. One miss. Hasn't been able to match the time of Elvira Erberg or close to it on the skis, and that one miss, not of course all the problem today for Vitozzi. Coming off the back of the most incredible high though at a home Winter Olympic Games, etching herself, or really the manner that she did it, stamping herself, we should say, into the history books. So tucked in there, starting the ascent up the wall is Hanna Erberg in the battle with Paulina Botowska-Fialkova for the silver medal, and it is just now being edged by Hanna Erberg. It looks like we'll have a Sweden and of course a Erberg sister 1-2. Sonja-Lena Mo, who took a silver medal earlier on this season, of course in Östersund in the individual races, back in the top 25 on the World Cup for now. Here's Lou Jean-Monod. Where will she find herself? 25th with 4 misses on the day. And it will be ever so close.
It's going to be a matter of points. It really is. If she finishes in 30th, she'll be down 141. Hanna Erberg could be at 144. So it really falls to how many can squeeze in ahead of Lou Jean-Monod. If she is pushed outside the top 30, it's not looking good for her to claim the Crystal Globe. And of course, with the caveat that the maths may be slightly out, it does look remarkably close. And Hanna Erberg, one such athlete who will absolutely push Jean-Monod down the order. She's in 26th right now.
And here is Hanna Erberg in the battle for the silver medal with Paulina Botowska-Fialkova. It was a battle with her sister for so long before she dropped that one shot, pushing around the outside, and it will be second for Hanna Erberg. 41.3 seconds behind Elvira Erberg. Botowska-Fialkova goes down to 3rd, but what a way to kick off her final trimester as a World Cup athlete. A brilliant day of racing to kickstart the final trimester here in Kontiolahti. Shvatova of Czechia across the line in 18th, and all of these places in between Lou Jean-Monod and the Swedes at the top of the table are so important. Big smile on the face of Shvatova. It's been a great day in the office for the Czech team today.
4 athletes going 20 for 20 at the end of the day. 5, including Marlene Fichtner, of course, just 4 in at the finish right now. Fichtner pushing Magnussen down as it currently stands. She's got a 26 seconds advantage over the Swede.
And still our letter bibs coming through, shooting 4. Here's Martina Trabucci of Italy. For a perfect day in the range as well. We've had a handful of them. It's been a thrilling day to be watching individual competition, where of course our focus is predominantly on the range. And there is a miss there for Trabucci.
It's what makes this event so fascinating, is it really is the perfect mixture of the mental mind games of the shooting range, as Trabucci just had to contend with going for 20 out of 20, and being so aware of how well you're doing can make it frighteningly hard to focus and follow your routine.
Here's Marlene Fichtner, looking for a huge personal best on the World Cup and looking for her first flower ceremony, and she will get there, the 22-year-old, across the line in 5th. A massive performance, 20 out of 20. You cannot ask for more than that. What a response from the disappointment in Nove Mesto. Talk about channeling it. That could be an improvement on the short individual in Nove Mesto. 16th she finished on that day. We could be looking at an 11th place improvement.
On the IBU Cup in Arbor, Fichtner hit all the targets in 3 races in a row. A total of 50 targets without a single miss, as Simon falls to 10th, 9 places lower than the Olympic Games.
Well, a tough day in the office, and Scott, it's always hard to predict how, coming off the back of those highs at the Olympic Games, now not just the mentality of athletes, but the physical side of things will react as well. Here's someone else who had the most incredible high at the Olympic Games, Oceane Michelon, 2 misses in 2 consecutive visits to the range to kick things off before she recovered with a perfect 10 from the last 2 visits, but she finishes down in 25th. Not the day that the French would want by any means. Instead, it's Czechia who have been catching our attention.
The French certainly had their share at the Olympics, and that's certainly where they'd have taken it. And I think Hannah Urberg and Elvira Urberg will be devastated to some extent that this didn't happen for them just 2 weeks ago.
13 medals, 6 of those golds for the French team at the Olympic Games in biathlon. A perfect end to the reign of Jean-Pierre Amat and Jean-Paul Giacchino, who for so long have been the glue in the French team. They will depart at the end of the season. I'm told they're off to go fishing and work on a golf course. Talk about a change of environments.
Well, yes, there's something very specific about biathlon and the kind of mentality you need to be able to do both disciplines, both the fighting on the tracks and the controlled composure behind the rifle. And it makes for a very special kind of person who can teach both of those aspects and understand the interplay between the two. Fishers and golfers.
Yeah, fishers and golfers. I think you put it perfectly earlier when you said suffering the sport. And we've had a thrilling race in between when you first said that, so I can't quite remember the context it was in. But it is races like this, -4, dropping now to -5, where the suffering really comes into play, Scott.
It is, and these are actually conditions that the athletes love. They don't want the +6, they don't want the -15. But we're finding even now, when they are fluctuating between temperatures from different venues, the Norwegian youths and juniors, of course, coming from very cold Scandinavia to the Junior World Championships in Arbor, where it's +12 to 14 degrees on days, and it has a massive impact on the body. Another variable to take into consideration. Maka there going well, the final 3 shots go down. The first 2 starting with errors.
So our final bibs making their way around the course and into shooting for Darlina Chalik, bib number 80. And of course, we're still keeping our eyes on where and how many put themselves between Magnusson and Jean Monod. 45 points for Anna Magnusson in 6th. And keeping our eyes on where Lou Jean Monod lands. She's already down to 32nd, of course, with plenty to come over the line. 64 of the 96 have finished. First miss of the day for Darlina Chalik, and that's 2.
No, actually, Jean Monod will be watching that shoot from Chalik with a little bit of relief in the sense that actually Anna Magnusson is currently sitting at 139 points, and Jean Monod is at 140 at this present moment at the finish line, having gained 10 points so far in the race. So everyone who squeezes Jean Monod down a spot now, one more place down, 33rd, will see her matching Anna Magnusson with 139 points. They will both be on the same.
Well, that's where I wish we were right now, Scott.
The jacuzzi.
They've got it. They've got that nailed, haven't they? That's, of course, how they do it in Finland, and I'm sure they'll be hopping out one by one to call themselves off in the snow. Here's Elina Stremus. A wobble at the start of competition, but 15 out of 15 after that. Good day for the Moldovan. Just where will it land her? And it's important in this battle for the Crystal Globe. Will she finish ahead of Lou Jean Monod? Lou Jean Monod is going to be pushed down, not quite. Elina Stremus just fractions, 0.2 of a second behind Lou Jean Monod. And all of these places crucial in the battle for the individual Crystal Globe. Now, at the start of the day, well, I think we can eat our words, Scott. We thought it would be a lot easier, a lot simpler than this. But now we're watching everyone across the line through these later bibs. Here's Nadia Mosa. She's outside of the picture. 2 clean shooting stages, both of her prone visits. She came through clean, 3 misses in the 2 standings. She finds herself in 47th. Nuala Keränen of Finland. Just 1 miss so far today. Excellent shooting.
Wow, what a
final
rhythm.
visit to the range, and talk about a way to put them down, Scott.
What an unbelievable rhythm. 23.3 seconds. It might not be the fastest, but it's unbelievably hard to control the breathing and get through the targets.
Talk about a way to entertain as well. The Finnish home crowd waiting, watching, of course, for the later bibs where Keränen finds herself. Just 1 miss on the day. And even more impressive, Scott, because this is her first ever start in Kontiolahti on a World Cup, and that's how you handle the pressure of competing on home snow.
Well, absolutely, and it never gets easier to manage the pressure of doing your home crowd proud by getting the targets down. But certainly you can develop coping strategies.
So this is Martina Trabucci, who are going to watch to the finish line because it's important to the battle for the individual Crystal Globe.
Anna Magnusson is, I can say for sure now, Live Cup has updated 134 points that she's sitting on. Jean Monod 139, so with a 5-point advantage, only getting 9 points so far today. So every position she drops down, she loses a point. And it looks like she's going to be able to retain it, just.
But she will drop down a place here because Martina Trabucci is going to come across the line in 19th. 1 miss on the day for the Italian, who at least briefly has found herself the centre of attention.
Well, now there's only 3 points in it at the top. Magnusson 134, Jean Monod 137. Well, now the question is, can anyone else slot in ahead of Jean Monod?
we have 71 of the 96 starters across the line. No DNSs today, which is always great to see.
I think a lot of people having suffered from the cold or some variation of it at the Olympic Games. It's hard to stay healthy in an environment where so many new names and faces are around, interactions that are sometimes discouraged, to say the least, from national federations. Therefore, the immune system has come back stronger than ever.
So here are the intermediate results, and there will be no change at the top of the table. Elvira Erberg with her first win in this discipline on the World Cup. In a really close battle until that final shooting stage with her older sister Hannah, who just dropped one. Still managed to secure the silver medal today, and a brilliant bronze for Paulina Botovska-Fialkova, who's retiring at the end of the season. And what a way to kick off your final trimester on the World Cup. Gislova, 18 out of 20 for the Czech athletes. But a great day for the Czech team today as well, with Shavatova finishing 21st, Bornikova in 4th. Across the line comes Gislova in 29th, which will further push Lou Jean-Monod down.
Only 2 points in it now. Jean-Monod will be looking down the order, just as I am now, to see who can actually push Jean-Monod down, and I can't see that there's anyone else with the chance. And wow, it really has come down to the very end. Anna Magnusson, if she wasn't pipped at the end, she would be in a great spot. But Fichtner with a perfect shooting, 25 seconds ahead of the Swede.
Just 2 points separating Lou Jean-Monod and Anna Magnusson, with the advantage being in favour of Lou Jean-Monod, but only just the matter of a couple of places either side. And as you rightly say, Scott, just looking further back, there doesn't seem to be anyone out there at the moment who is going to challenge the position of Lou Jean-Monod, who is now all the way down in 35th. Dravkova of Bulgaria, 3 misses, across the line in 61st.
Well, I don't think you could have written a more exciting scenario for Jean-Monod to be steadily dropped down, and Yuliana Kliev, perhaps if her skiing form was a little bit better, then she could have been one such person who could have knocked the French lady down. But in this case, even with 2 falling outside the top 40, not scoring any points on the day,
so here is Dolina Chalik, 2 misses for the Ukrainian on her final visit to the range, and 2 misses that could really help Lou Jean-Monod. She'll fall outside of the top 40 here. Deidre Irwin will pass, and Rebecca Passler as well. Marjorie Freed's time goes past, so it's 42nd for Chalik of Ukraine.
Elvira Erberg climbing all the way up to 3rd, finally in the individual standings on the overall cup tally. Sweden making 3 of the top 4.
And then no change in the total score at the top. Lou Jean Minot still holds a very healthy advantage over Suvi Minkkinen, but Hannah Erberg has climbed up to third. Anna Magnussen dropping down to fourth. Elvira Erberg also climbing above Malin Tjirkaida, who had such a disastrous start to the race today. Here is Noora Kaiser Kerlinen. They will be roared home by the crowd here in Kontiolahti.
Well, 19 out of 20 is a fantastic result. 95% hit rate. Never easy to attain. And this is a really good glimpse of the track as they come in towards the finish. And although it looks flat, slightly downhill here, all of this area of track is work. There is no reprieve, and it is after having ascended the very steepest part and longest part of the course. The shooting range would be peeling over left of that bridge, but now to get into the finish, they take a right, more flat, more work under the footpath bridge, as Karenin now coming in towards the final 100 meters.
So we will get a better look at the course on Saturday and Sunday, where we have the women's mass start on Saturday, men's relay, and then it's the reverse on the Sunday. But of course, before that, the men's 20-kilometre individual tomorrow afternoon at the same time. Kerlinen roared home, and what a unique experience this is, Scott, to see all those flags to one side as you're welcomed home on home snow.
Absolutely amazing feeling, and also to be able to shoot so well 19 times today. The crowd roared for the hits of Karenin, and that is a sensation that can be very seldom replicated.
They have been in such excellent form, this Finnish team. Erik Torneus Kolstad has done an excellent job at the helm. And it is an upturn of form that's been felt across the board, Scott. We mentioned Suvi Minkkinen, of course, but you look at Olli Hiidensalo's performance at the World Championships, at the Olympic Games again this year, and Otto Invinius as well, an excellent Olympic Games for the young man. And really, as I'm sure plenty have heard the saying, when a rising tide lifts all ships, it does feel like that is the case for this Finnish team.
Absolutely, and at the Youth Junior World Championships as well, they have so many young talented athletes coming up and through. They've got 3 medals already there, and it suggests that there's a really good foundation of learning right to the deepest roots of their nation, and we're seeing that across nations. We've got Slovakia, Latvia, Finland, Ukraine, Poland, Austria, so much development coming up. And that's what makes the sport so exciting, is there's so many names in contention who can do well at the top level.
Lydia Zorauskaite of Lithuania, 19 out of 20. Falls though side of the top 50.
Well, Ellen, this is the first time that Jean Minot this season has finished outside the top 16. And now to finish 35th at this moment when she just needed some points. And she can consider herself a little bit fortunate to have actually managed to cling on to the Crystal Globe by only 2 points. If Magnussen or if Fichtner had not shot clear today, it would have gone the other way, and Magnussen would have got it.
Oh, 2 points, the finest of margins. And also when you look at the difference as well, when you look down the finishing order, just the difference between Magnussen and Leah Meyer of Switzerland, just 1/10 of a second between that, of course, then that being the talking point before Fichtner came across the line. And so much today decided by incredibly fine margins. That, of course, apart from the lead, which went for the first time in individual competition to Elvira Erberg, her first individual win of her career, and now she has a full collection of wins in every discipline on the World Cup. If you'd have looked at this race on paper, you'd have given, of course, her sister Hannah the win based off her, well, incredible trophy cabinet when it comes to individual races, but one missed target saw her finish in second. Butovska Fialkova kick-started trimester 3 in fashion with a bronze medal. Bornikova carrying on her exceptional form from bib 18, taking forth the Olympic bronze medalist in the mass start, as we see some of our final bibs come across the line. Just 6 left to break the red finishing line here in Kontiolahti.
Makarova finished in 76th at the European Championships, missing 5. And 78th on the World Cup, missing 3. That's an improvement, and only 3 places behind Breza Boucher.
Well, it is a challenging time for Justine Bressard-Boucher in terms of her results. Scott, she is always someone who comes out wanting to prove a point. We saw her the start of last season, some real challenging results there, came back so strongly in the World Championship. She'll have been bitterly disappointed with the results at the Olympic Games. What can Justine Bressard-Boucher do in this final trimester?
It's such a hard question because, of course, biathlon is an incredible thing. And of course, the Olympic Games is the main focus. The last trimester, very difficult to regain that focus. But she has a child who will be so excited to see her every single day, and the same will be true for her to her child. And that's just one thing that now I think she'll be focusing on, just being able to enjoy this last trimester. And I know that if I was in her situation, enjoyment would have to be the most important thing, because she's got already a gold medal back at home, very much in terms of the family lifestyle, and still being able to be an athlete at the top level. I think for her now, the pressure is completely off. We all know what a champion she is on the skis and behind the rifle. She's got nothing to prove.
Of course, the reigning sprint world champion as well, Justine Bressard-Boucher. As across the line comes Benita Pfeiffer of Canada, 78th. She takes today, just 2 missed targets. It was a DNS in the individual in Antholz at the Olympic Games last month, but made it through to the pursuit after was the qualification in the sprint race.
Bendica, one of my outside speculations for the day, down in 77th, 6 mistakes. A top 5 possible with the perfect 20 out of 20, a luxury that only the coaches can afford to have. It's pretty poisonous for the athlete's mindset to subtract minutes from their result sheet, because of course if every biathlete did that, then it would become a ski race.
We'd all be cross-country skiers. So 5 today, finishing with a perfect 20 out of 20. And well, Scott, I think in these races we spend a lot of time focusing on the range just because of the volume going through with the 4 shooting stages, and of course the volume of athletes on the start sheet. But there were so many incredible performances in the range, really breathtaking and eye-catching, outside of those 5, of course, who did shoot clean.
It's always interesting to get a real insight into how the biathletes manage their emotions on the range. It's great to see, because it's the OG biathlon discipline, the individual, adding a real consequence for every single shot fired. And it's beloved for that reason.
Well, there's one very happy fan. A win for Elvira Urberg today. And I love that she's got all bases covered on that side.
Yeah, you can't lose with that list.
A good ratio there of chance for a win today.
Such popular biathletes as well, not just for their skiing ability, but just their persona, the energy that they bring and love to the sport. They attract fans from all around the world.
And the inclusion as well, you look at Ingrid Lamotte and Volta, of course, going through a tricky spell herself, but doesn't hide anything away from the fans, so regularly showing life behind the skis and the rifle on her YouTube and her social media. These are athletes who really connect with the audience around the world, as we see Cheryl Ampidou of Greece, 19 out of 20 today for her, just dropping one on the last, as well as we've seen so many do today with the pressure of getting that 20 out of 20 across the line. But a good day in the range and across the line in 78th.
Cheryl Ampidou managed to do this at the European Championships. Perfect 20 out of 20 on that day. And she's no stranger to incredibly accurate shooting, managing a 10 out of 10 in Arbor on the IBU Cup. And now coming up to the biggest stage this season, for the first time, getting 19 out of 20 is a pretty impressive outcome.
Yep, her first World Cup start of the season, as you say there, Scott, her 9th overall, and a familiar face on the IBU Cup as she points to the Greek flag. Very rarely a flag that we see on the World Cup scene, so great to have it represented here today. Plenty of Swedish and of course Öberg representation in the top 3. Elvira Öberg taking the win ahead of her sister Hanna Botowska-Fialkova, taking 3rd for Vornikova, 4th. Fichtner in her first flower ceremony, and a huge personal best for the German today, taking 5th. Anna Magnussen rounds out the flower ceremony with 6. A brilliant day in the office once again for Leah Meyer, who's really come into her own over the course of the last couple of weeks. And you can see the full results there with Oceane Michelon finishing 26th. Lou Jean Monod 35, but only just hanging on to the discipline globe by a matter of 2 points. As we look and see plenty of big names further down the order, always challenging to pick the World Cup circuit back up after such a physically and emotionally demanding event such as the Olympic Games. Ella Halvorsen down in 51st. Malin Tjirkaider, that one of the big surprises of today, Scott. Of course, the individual discipline, not one that she has been known for this season. Her fast finishes have been what's been catching the attention. But you're surprised to see the blue bib that far down the order today?
I absolutely am. Sorry, I was on mute there, but the the 3 Norwegians down in the late 58s with Knotten in 58th, Skar in 59th, and Tjirkaider in 61st. That was a surprising result. Tangevold skiing her way a little bit out of trouble down in 48th, but not the best day for Norway, to say the least.
Here is the total score standings. Lou Jean Monod in the yellow bib, a healthy lead she has over Suvi Minkunen. Malin Tjirkaider, as much as we've just highlighted her result, she has such a grasp on the under-23 globe and that blue bib, and changes in the orders around there. Of course, you can see Dorothea Veer and Franziska Preuss dropping down, of course, owing to their retirements, and we wish them all the best in their lives post-biathlon. What they have done for the sport over the last couple of years, the last couple of decades, can't be forgotten. Julia Tannheimer down in 26. Of course, as we mentioned, such a commanding lead that the blue bib holder Malin Tjirkaider has. As we look back at the race of Lou Jean Monod,
Ja siellä yleensä saavat kannattaa ja jakoja.
Elvira, congratulations. Your first individual win. You shared the podium with the sister. It was 20 out of 20. Could it get any better today?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've been feeling very good here. I like this place and feels very good to be back on low altitude again after a long period during the Olympics. I mean, today it feels so simple. Everything comes natural, and skiing feels good, shooting feels good, and then to do 1-2 with Hanna, I mean, hard day to beat.
Now you have win in every discipline, and that's probably was a special day. But what will be most memorable for you today?
For sure, there's a lot of things, but doing 1-2 together with Hanna, it's the first time that we are number 1 and 2. So I mean, this is a big day for us. So super happy to share that with her.
Thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, it couldn't get much better, really, could it? It's Scott Dixon. She said there, the 1-2, the symmetry as she came across the line. But this is, of course, what we've all been waiting for, as much as the story has been. Elvira Öberg, Jean Monod, and look at that, just 2 points in it between her and Anna Magnusson. If at the start of the day we'd have said it would have come down to just that level of fine margins, you probably wouldn't have believed us. But what a race it was for so many reasons. The narratives, of course, that Elvira has just highlighted, but what went on right until the end with the battle for the individual globe.
I love what Elvira Öberg said there, saying it felt so simple, everything was so simple. And that's such an important moment, or those words are so important, because when it is simple, it's the zone, and that's a gift. You cannot produce that kind of mindset out of nowhere, and that fall from Jean Monod, really microcosm of her race today, at least relative to her performances in general. But Elvira Öberg found the zone, and how athletes find that state of mind or try and replicate it, especially because they can't produce it, is by simply coming up with a regular breathing routine or trigger pressure, some kind of focus point that they can give all of their attention to.
So 1 and 2 for the first time. And for the first time, it's Elvira Öberg who is leading out the flower ceremony in an individual race. She now has victories in each discipline on the World Cup, and would have liked it no other way than to be ahead of her sister Hanna. Joining them on the podium, Paulina Batowska-Fialkova adding yet another podium, but just the first in individual discipline. to her collection as she begins to prepare to wind down and end her very impressive career. The first time she's ended up on the podium in an individual competition. She had a 4th place finish, and I'm sure she'll be delighted to, like those to either side of her, have a full collection not of wins but of podiums.
Ladies and gentlemen, third, kolmas tänään, representing Slovakia,
Paulina Batowska-Fialkova adding a 11th podium to her collection. Well, Scott, she couldn't really have asked for more today in terms of her race, and of course with the storyline being the end of her career, great to see her have a medal hung around her neck. And what a battle this was between the Öberg sisters until that final shooting stage. Hannah today taking silver.
And she did it with such unbelievably fast shooting. So composed, it doesn't always pay off.
But it did pay off for Elvira Öberg, Hannah's younger sister. A first individual victory, adding to her incredible collection. But this, the first time that she stood at top of the podium in this discipline, moving to a silver and a bronze. The full collection now. One for the family photo album. And what a way to kick-start the final trimester here in Kontiolahti. Teresa Pobornikova backing up her brilliant performance in the mass start at the Olympic Games, where she took bronze just off the podium today, but perfect shooting for the Czech athlete. Marlene Fichtner in the flower ceremony for the very first time on the World Cup. The 22-year-old, an improvement of 11 places on her previous World Cup best, and still very much in the infancy of her career, just her 16th now World Cup start. What progress she's made in recent weeks, and of course a growing collection of IBU Cup medals that she's had and collected this season. And Anna Magnusson, not quite enough today to secure the discipline globe, but it came ever so close, down to just 2 points. Lou Jean-Monod retains her individual title and will be presented with her discipline globe at the end of the season in Oslo. So that is all for today's racing. We will be back at 5:10 Central European time for the men's 20-kilometre individual. I hope you can join us then here on Eurovision Sport.
Really good conditions here in Kontiolahti, so promising start for this event weekend. I hope you enjoyed, dear audience. Warmly welcome you here also tomorrow on Saturday. Oikein hieno jännittävä päivä tänään nähtiin täällä Kontiolahdella. Mieletöntä vauhtiarvoa huippu-urheilussa. tästä kun se lähtee, suomalaiset taisi se suppikin